This video just helps you to get started on your turkey grid drawing. Grid drawing is one of the cool tricks I learned to keep good proportion when you're drawing something. So meaning keeping things kind of equal in size according to what the object is. And it's a great way to help you with hand-eye coordination as well. There are different approaches to grid drawing, but what we're going to do is just use the width of our ruler to create our grid lines. You could measure, but in this case, just for time saving factors, we're going to just use the width of a ruler instead of measure. So start right next to the edge of your turkey picture that you have here. When you use a ruler, ways to make sure your line's nice and straight is to kind of make sure your fingers are positioned apart and you're pressing down, and using the edges of your paper to make sure your lines are really straight. On our turkey, it's okay if your lines are dark, but on your actual drawing, your lines need to be very light. So we'll just keep going, make sure your ruler's so straight. If it's not, that's where we run into problems when we're trying to draw our actual drawing. So if these lines are wobbly, then our drawing ends up wobbly. So really take your time and add some really straight grid lines using the edge of your paper and pressing down firmly with your hand. When you have your grid completed, notice I just kind of took and put some scribbles here because I don't need to focus on this area because there is no part of the turkey picture in there. Same thing with this little edge. We're just focusing on this little area of grid, and we'll add some numbers to them. So you number every single box, even the ones that are empty, because we want it to be a full square and we want the same amount of boxes here as we do on our final paper. We're using those grid lines that we made and the numbers as references to help us to draw it with the same exact proportion as we see on the original. So we need to create a grid on our final paper, but we need to do it extremely light. I cannot stress enough how important it is to make sure your lines are light. You may not even see my lines on the camera because of how light they will be. So the same kind of process where we line up our ruler with the edge of our paper to make sure it's really, really straight, and we press down with our fingers kind of apart. And I kind of like to hold my pencil a little farther back so I don't press down quite as hard. It makes it less tempting to do. So really, really light lines. You might even want to just test to see if it's easy to erase it to make sure you're good to go for keeping going on your grid. So very, very, very light lines. Then finally, when your grid lines are complete, so you have the same exact amount of boxes here as you do here, and you add your numbers too, but this time really, really small and easy to erase. Now, what we use these boxes for is to help us to know what to draw and where to draw it. So obviously in box 1 we don't see anything, but in box 2 we see the little eyebrows on our friend here. So you're going to kind of look and see how far over from the side are his little brows. And if you notice, it's just barely touching the top of box 6. So we'll find box 6 and we're going to kind of figure out approximately where that will be and just kind of lightly sketch it in. So I'm looking, and it looks like it's about a finger's amount of space from the edge. So I am just going to lightly put that on there. And then his other eyebrow is a little bit higher, and it is just kind of above this one right here that we started. So I'm kind of just lightly putting that on there, and you can always make adjustments. So it's best to draw light and then darken it later if you need to. So you're going along every single box, and you're looking to see where it's located in the box and matching it on your final drawing. So take your time and really focus on the shapes and the lines, not the entire picture. Sometimes, if you're focusing too much on the picture, it could be easier to draw it and number it upside down so you're not focusing on what the object is and just looking at the shapes and the lines. I find that it's helpful to use my finger to keep my place, and your eyes should constantly be bouncing from the original drawing to your drawing. Back and forth, like I said, very good hand-eye coordination practice.